Hello, my friend. Welcome. I was out of town at a conference up at Esalen, my first time there in several years, and it was so beautiful. And they've done lots of innovations and renovations up there. Plus, the staff was very welcoming, and yeah, so it was a wonderful experience. And I missed you all last week, but I know you were being well served. I did get an idea up there that I want to share with you during our meeting today. I've always trying to communicate my experience and the result of practicing loop of awareness over a period of time. And so I have a visual that I want to have you tune into as let's first start. The heart of the loop of awareness is simply shifting your attention. But what most people don't get is that their attention has shape, that their attention has substance and can be moved, and it also has rhythm. So it has time, space, and weight. We think of our attention as just sort of this ephemeral thing, but it actually has such substance. And so I have found a video that I want you to watch. And what I'd love for you to do is to let the basic is shifting your awareness. And I would just like you to imagine that your attention is like the octopus, both in the sense of spreading out and moving with different rhythms. And you can go ahead and shift to the next one. So as you're letting your attention go out into the world and you're letting your attention come into you, I'd like you to notice that you can have these rhythms and shaping of your attention that allows you to create an attention dance. And you can shift to the next one. They have these beautiful pictures of the octopi and how they can spread out and let the attention propel them, but that also each one of our moves of attention can be like an octopus leg. And then the whole of we can let our attention be really inclusive. We can let it be more one pointed. But the idea too is that the attention is alive in us and moving. So I'd love you to just let your attention become like the octopus and just try that on for a moment. This one is particularly lovely, and I can tell that they're dancing there, and we know more and more about octopi, that they are very, very intelligent and and have such an inner life, but also the way they move in their environment. And they're moving in water the same way that we move in air. And you may think that because the air is all around you, that it doesn't have any impact, but you and shaping your attention can spread out and be this kind of consciousness dance in the world around you. And let's shift to the last one, which is a little bit different. Uh, oh yeah, I love this one. So letting yourself try on, and you can let your arms and your legs move, or you can just simply let that be a movement inside of you that allows you to touch into your experience from all of these different angles. And I just loved this possibility of us expanding our experience of what it is to do the loop of awareness. And I think we have one more that's yes. So this is even at night, you can do this. And I love how this is no matter what your shape is, that you can be using your loop of awareness to be at one with your environment while also dancing with yourself. And so I wanted you to have this experience because I got so mesmerized by these octopi when I found them. So I wanted to share that with you. So we can come on back to the group now. And for me, even just watching that, I get much more of a sense of the roundness and the expansion of our attention, because mostly we've experienced the pay attention, which is this kind of narrowing and flattening and one pointedness. And so for me, whenever I just try on the image of the octopi, I feel my whole attention being more fluid. And also, we're, the estimates between 80 and 90% water. So we have an inner ocean that we can swim in, as well as in the outer ocean of our attention. And so let yourself just take a moment and notice the impact just in your experience of giving attention to you and giving attention out there, and just notice if anything has, opened up or shifted for you as a result of looking at those movements on the video. Yeah, for me, this is one of and there may be a place in you that most tightens up or tenses up or contracts, when you get into fear or whether you're in stress. And for me, it's sort of, right here, because I get into shouldering everything and, carrying the world. And so, particularly, feeling that fluidity of moving my attention through, you might find any place in you that's feeling a little bit more flat or contracted, and go ahead and send that octopus energy and attention through that place in you. I find it combines very well with your love scoops, and also with your other fear melters, because they were really embodying ooze. There's this sense of ooze, and ooze doesn't have to be slow. It's that movement of lines becoming curves, and since we know also that the evolutionary shape of the universe is the spiral, that doing your loop of awareness can also help you to recover your spiral, so that you're not, when you go more two-dimensional, I think that supports the polarity thinking, us versus them, right and wrong, black and white. And that when we start moving in the oozing and in the spiral, our choices, but also our continuum of presence, becomes so much more expanded. So I got really excited when I saw that, and I thought, oh, I'm going to share that on Monday. So even when I'm not with you, I'm thinking about you and what I can share with you next time. So I'd also love to share with you our card for today, our integrity card. And I'd love you first to just let your kind of oozing, curious octopus attention go into the collage and noticing what you notice, and then letting it ooze on back to you, and noticing what opens up for you, what you get curious about inside you when you're shifting your attention. So, loop of awareness also, I find, allows me to take in, to get curious with my whole body rather than just my head. And since we're, the default position of most people in our culture is head centered and going head to head. What doesn't make any sense, let's figure it out. What's going on here? Rather than the experience of taking in the image and noticing what opens up for you. So let yourself continue oozing back and forth between you and getting curious about you and the collage while I share this with you. It's from Conscious Communication. My language closely matches my experience. My language closely matches my experience. And the question, how can I communicate in a way that closely matches my actual experience? How can I communicate in a way that closely matches my actual experience? And before we come back to the group, I want to just share with you what I experience as the main benefit of having my language closely match my experience. It allows me to flow and to experience life to presence. It's the move that most readily allows me to presence, because when I'm aligned, there's an opening, a letting go of any debris, of anything in the way, of any hesitation, the kinds of things that happen when I get scared, when I'm aligning and I'm letting myself do what I call speaking from discovery, letting my words match. The whole matching thing is not about being right. It's about being aligned so that the universe can move through you. And you get all kinds of goodies by doing that, which I see when I'm looking at the picture. So let's come on back to the group now, because I want to share a little bit more about this skill of matching. And when I do that, I move from, again, that either or, like comparing and judging and into the alignment of what I am experiencing. And there's such aliveness in that. But it also, what I find, what follows that is much more creativity, because when I'm aligning, there's no debris inside. And by that, I mean hesitation. What's going on with the other person? Are they going to like me if I say this or I don't say this, or I should say this in a different way? But I'm letting myself stream. It's very much like the octopus. What I experience when I'm aligned is this ease and flow that allow me to feel the deliciousness of communicating and the miracle of communicating, that I can open my mouth and create some kind of that actually connect with other people and create something. It's kind of a little miracle that uh, that you can experience. But we get so head centric and think it has to sound right and it has to be right, that we don't let our whole body enjoy the benefit of language coming from your experience rather than leading it. And so I invite you. It's one of the practices that I do regularly. When it's not something like, okay, check, got that. It's an ongoing practice that has such incredible benefit of, and it's always a chance to go, "Well, no, that didn't quite match," or I'm searching for the verb, that most closely matches. And as I'm doing that, then both my communication with me and my communication with the other opens up. And then I'm also receiving information from out there and from in here that is feeding my communication, rather than just using what's up here in the moment. Because what's up here in your brain is really a result of the juiciness that comes up from your body. And if I'm feeding that, flowing, it's like I have the hose open and, I'm nourishing my communication as I'm saying it. And so as I do that, I notice that I also refresh myself so that I can be in a communication for a long period of time and have the same kind of vitality, because I'm renewing my vitality by discovering and by being curious. And also, it's so much fun to open your mouth and not know what you're going to say. And I first really experienced that with Gay, years ago. He would open his mouth and he would start speaking. And afterwards, I would look at him and say, "You just made all that up, didn't you?" And he'd go, "Yeah," because it would have such, Gay has this way of speaking like, he's delivering it, from Mount Sinai, and it's very, has authority in it. So I love that, that you can start to communicate and then let your body intelligence and the intelligence of the universe and what's wanting to be delivered through you come through. And to be in that kind of discovery allows you to renew your energy over and over again. And that's part of how I could do, like a few weeks ago, I did a live couples course for 3 days. And I felt alive and energized the whole time. And this skill was really at the heart of it, is speaking from discovery. And it also invites discovery with others, because you're there, they can be osmosing it from you, that sense of that you're not delivering the same old, how are you? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. That kind of thing that we learned. And, my brothers would, we grew up in the time when you go out and come back for dinner. Like, you guys go out and play and come back before dark. And then my mother would say, "Where'd you go?" "Well, out." "What'd you do?" "Nothing." So it was, but it allowed us to have our own little adventures that we didn't have to report on, or, have to have curated by our parents. A different time. So let me now go through our present, connect, play for today. I love having all three of these because there's this menu for you to choose from that you can use throughout the week. And sometimes one thing will really speak to you and sometimes another. So presence, one of my great favorites, get curious with And is so useful in so many ways. One, opens your throat. So, whenever you get scared, you close your throat. No matter what else is going on in the rest of you, you close your throat. And then your throat is your network. It's the switchboard between your head and the rest of your body. And your brain and your spinal cord, and they all go through your neck and your throat. And when I open my throat, it's again creating space for discovery, but also for me to be able to shape my curiosity. So when I'm in doubt or I get stuck, is one of the ways that I use my voice in order to shift from my critical brain, which is always in there. The default position is what's wrong now, sort of your left brain. And of course, there's always something wrong now. So if that's what you give your attention to, that's going to be your life. But when you first of all, I mean, just do that a few times of through your whole out breath, the I can feel a settling, and the vibration of the is very pleasant. And if it's not pleasant to me, I know that I've got some kind of agitation going on, and I can get curious about that. The I also like to follow with a wonder question. So, I wonder how I could speak with matching today. I wonder how I could bring my full presence to this project that I'm working on. Or, I wonder how I could get unstuck with this thing I've been stuck on for forever. So, and also, if the other person is stuck, you're in conversation and you're perceiving or sensing that the other person is stuck, it's just a great way to invite everybody into wonder and curiosity. So presence is the result of humming. So connect. Oh, connect. Listen appreciatively. So I wanted to choose one word that kind of summarized everything that conscious listening, whole body listening is about. And appreciation, is that word. And so appreciating is about being sensitively aware of, it's about letting your attention move through and around what is being said. There are lots more skills to the listening appreciatively that you can find on the foundation website. But the heart of it is if I shift from, well, my default, and Gay and I were just laughing about that this morning. My default and his default is listening for criticism. That's what we both grew up, and we were sort of pickled in criticism in our. So if I tickle, if I find myself listening critically, if I shift, I can use the and I'm going to have some water. I can shift into what am I actually experiencing here? And again, I'm seeing the octopi. So listening appreciatively has that kind of, delicate sensing into and feeling into. And that's really at the heart of listening appreciatively. It's not rah rah. It's really, what's going on here? And how can I be with that? And listening appreciatively, I find, is my entrance when there's we're having a, either a conflict or we have this polarity. I can shift into listening appreciatively, and that begins to unthaw the great divide. And so I think that this is a major tool and a major practice for all of us right now, is to be listening appreciatively, because on the surface, it's so easy to get triggered and to go into our fear responses. But when I drop into listening appreciatively, I've had so many wonderful shifts where the other person who looks like they're my enemy, just kind of gets melty, and we have even just a moment of connection is then we're reweaving the world, into community again. And then play is chunk. And chunk has been so useful for me. The queen of run-on sentences. When I was first writing and co-writing with Gay, I would be like a butterfly. I'd start a sentence and then I'd find something else I wanted to include, and I could write a sentence that was a whole paragraph, and it would land at the end. It would totally land, but people would forget what had happened at the very beginning of the sentence, and so. And especially if I were giving directions, like in a workshop, in the very beginning, when Gay and I started doing workshops together, we'd have a big room full of people, like 100 people, and I'd say, okay, now I'd like half of you to go over here and half of you to go over here, and then you're going to find a partner, and then and I would just added all these things, and people were standing around going, "Gah, what do I do now, and where do I go next?" So chunking is incredibly valuable, and not just if you're giving a presentation, or you're in a meeting, but if you're asking a friend or you're asking your partner to do something, chunking is so much more effective than, I want you to, and then, and then, and then. So chunking is basically one out breath, and then noticing, using your loop of awareness to notice, did that land? And are we still presencing with each other? So it allows you to your communication to be so much more effective, because you'll notice when you've dropped a loop, like from I came from the kind of family where I learned how to crochet, and I learned how to knit, and in Colorado winters that was very useful. So when you drop a stitch, you can pick it up again, but if you let it go too long, then you have to pull out the whole, rows and rows to pick up the stitch again. So it's possible to let yourself speak in a way that other people can come with you. And it's not a contest, that your communication becomes, here's a little gift. And, it's like when you're eating. For me, when I learned how to just eat one bite at a time and enjoy that, and take that in, and then have another bite that I chose. It wasn't like like my brothers would eat like that, and I just realized why I stopped eating like that is because I'd be saving my last best bite in the corner of my plate. And one of my brothers would always steal it because they would eat all of their stuff and then they would come to eat mine. So I realized that my protective thing, I was sort of like, no, I'm gonna, eat mine. So it is also I think it's a signal to the universe that there's plenty. So if I'm chunking and then I give space, and then I'm chunking and I give space, there's a chance to take it in. There's a chance to digest. And so I, I find that incredibly useful. So chunking, and starting with one out breath. And we do that a lot in our various practices. But when you put all three of these together, that could make a great practice for this week. So thank you so much for being here today. It's wonderful to see all of your faces and your beings. And I'm appreciating you and appreciating you being in the community. So I hope you have an octopus week. Until we meet again. All right. Much love to you all.